Hey, what up, everybody? I hope this video finds you well. I just wanted to take a couple minutes and kind of gush on Capcom, pause, about their new features that are releasing with the Terry Bogard patch coming up later this month. So for those of you who don't know, which is probably like 5 of you, they have the new replay review feature, which is just like the mode that they added to Guilty Gear Accent Core and Tekken 7 and 8, where you can pause a replay and then hop in. You can take control of one of the characters and you can test new situations based off of what data is already there. So if there was a setup or something that you got beat by, you can go in and take control of your character, or theirs if you want, right in that moment, and you can try different things, which is brilliant. I thought it was one of the coolest things they could have ever added to a video game, so it was really surprising when Arc System Works added it to Guilty Gear Accent Core of all games. Crazy, 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 crazy. Super experimental stuff. I loved it. Super cool. I honestly, when they dropped that, I hadn't even considered that would ever be a thing. That's rad. So then I'm glad to see that Tekken hopped on that, because in a game as complex as that, being able to do that without having to go in and set up these situations on your own, which it can be incredibly difficult because some of the stuff that these people are hitting you with, especially at high levels, can be really hard to do if you don't play that character, which kind of compounds because it's like, well, how am I supposed to set up something I didn't understand? And I got hit by it because I didn't understand it, right? So it takes out a lot of prior preparation, I suppose, for lack of a better term. Because before, you could, of course, set this stuff up, as I spoke about in my last video. You can go into the record function in most games, Street Fighter 6 in this case we're talking about, and you could set those things up, but you had to know how to do it, which is a tall ask for stuff that, you know, just literally you got your head busted by some crazy Blanca level 2 nonsense. You know, you don't know how any of that stuff works. You don't play Blanca? Well, now you don't have to. Now you can just hop into that replay, watch it, find the moment where you got hit, and resume control of your character and try something different until you find a solution that works. Brilliant. Love it. I'm here for it all. That I feel like this is one of those things that's going to really help a lot of people level up. I hope Capcom highlights and showcases the crap out of this mode, because I know a lot of players, you know, unlike lab monsters like myself, who are wild and crazy. We are built different. I don't necessarily mean that as a good thing. It kind of bridges the gap. It removes that barrier of entry and will allow people to go in and immediately kind of more meaningfully visualize and correct the mistakes in the moment. I'm going to use the crap out of it for sure, because I run into situations constantly now where I get blown up by stuff I have no idea what I'm looking at, you know, and oftentimes the situations aren't even all that complex, but if you don't know, you don't know. And going in and setting that stuff up is a lot of work. Now you don't have to. Mwah! Chef's kiss, Capcom. Keep it coming. I'm very excited to see what kind of stuff they come up with next. Like, where are they going to go from here? It was nice watching them update their training mode in Street Fighter 5. My biggest gripe or critique for them was that they didn't really do a great job of explaining or highlighting the changes that they made. And sometimes it was difficult to see what changed. Like, all of a sudden there would just be one extra option under stun or something like that. And you're like, what is this? They have gone in the polar opposite direction of Street Fighter 6. Like, their menus and options and stuff are almost overwhelming. There's so much stuff there. I'm the kind of guy who's like, better to have it and not need it than to need it and it not be there. So I'm all for it. Load it up. Load me up with all sorts of options so I can learn and practice whatever I need to practice, because Street Fighter 6 is hard as crap. The game is tough. You know, there's a lot to memorize, there's a lot to know, there's a lot to be aware of, all at the same time. And truthfully, the only other game I can really kind of think of that loads up your mental stack like that would be like Killer Instinct, which, funnily enough, touches on their other new option that's coming with the new Terry patch, V-Rivals. Now, for those of you who didn't play Killer Instinct 2013, I think it was season 2. somewhere in there, they added a new option called the Shadow Lab. Shadow Lab is basically a mode where what the game does is that it takes data as you play and it uploads the data to their servers and kind of compiles it down into a shadow that you choose. So basically you would go into shadow mode, and I played Chief Thunder. So I pick Thunder in Shadow Lab, and anytime I played that character, I had the choice of uploading the data. Now, there was a couple things that this mode did that I really loved as a data-driven kind of training mode monster. It, first of all, quantified all of the data. So from match to match, you could see, all right, my anti-airs were down 5% that match as opposed to the last one. It was really granular. Like, it would notice how often you ducked. It would notice how often you walked forward or backwards, and it would tell you that. And it took advantage of all that stuff so that when you played your shadow, which is like the V Rivals allows you to do here, you can play versus your shadow, you can play versus shadows of other characters, maybe even specific players. I don't know, they haven't really clarified if it gets that granular, but I know a couple other games have done this too. The earliest example I think was Virtua Fighter 4 that kind of did this. It was way more basic than like KI's version or Tekken 8's version. Tekken 8 also did this. Tekken 8's version does not, at least from when I was using it when the game dropped, it didn't seem to be quite as robust as KI's. KI's mode felt like sorcery. Like, I'm not gonna hold you up. When I first moved out here to Los Angeles, the place we were staying had the absolute worst internet. It was like Nokia phone levels. It was terrible. Like, we were online basically in name only. We could watch TV. Trying to play online games like Street Fighter was not happening. And I know Street Fighter 5 at the time, so it was even worse than you could ever imagine. It was bad. So my only recourse, despite KI's godlike netcode, was in order to practice, I used the Shadow Lab. The Shadow Lab allowed me to practice against myself, kind of like work on my own mistakes, because the Shadow will make all the mistakes that you make as a player. Is it one-to-one perfect? No, but I'd say it was a good 70 or 80% if you used it a lot. It was definitely, the more you use the mode, the more data you uploaded to it, the more true to life, I guess, for lack of a better term, it actually was. So it was incredibly helpful, to the point I did better in KI that year at EVO than I did like at any other game that I played at EVO. And I literally didn't play online. I attempted to play online a couple times, and then it was like the connection was so bad, I just gave up. And I just used the Shadow Lab, and I would use the Shadow Survival mode to just fight through and try to get practice against other players and other characters. And yeah, it surprisingly was very, very helpful in like allowing me to stay sharp and to kind of at least keep my basic skills up to par. Like, I think I went like 4 or 5 and 2. I was just like a match or two shy of making it out of pools. But I was kind of floored because I went into that Evo like very concerned that I would just get washed. Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, and I would continuously play against other shadows, but as I play against those shadows and level up my skills, I would then fight myself. And I would learn to deal with my own, shortcomings so that my shadow would get better and better and better. And you could even send your shadow out to play against other people and it would get points. I forget what the points were for, but yeah, it was a whole thing. It was really cool. It was my favorite mode in that game, besides obviously just, versus or online playing the game. It was really, really, really cool. So I'm glad to see Capcom attempt something like this too, because I think this is, again, one of those things where players who might be a little spooked by online and how wild and crazy people can be, and sometimes how they can talk to you and respond to you, especially in the battle hub. I think this is going to be one of those things that helps those players bridge the gap. It certainly helped me as a person who was kind of just like, I freely admit I was definitely spooked by online. In person, no problem. Playing online at the time where, playing online and offline were like two different skill sets, having something that was so kind of one-to-one with what I was used to playing was nice. Yeah, I'm not playing people. I'm playing kind of ghosts of people, but obviously this will only really work if the ghosts are, or V rivals in this case, are true to how the player that the data is based on, how thorough and robust that data is. So we'll have to see how this actually shakes out. But I think it's one of those things that if they continue to improve these tools over time, I think that this could really help a lot of people level up and bridge the gap and become monstrously good, monstrously fast. So again, I applaud Capcom. Hats off to you for taking the time to acknowledge that these tools, first of all, that they exist. Secondly, that they're good and useful to the player base, and that you're taking a chance on implementing these into your system. And I hope that they support them until the end of the game. And I mean, God only knows what kind of stuff they'll come up with, next. Like, what are they going to add next? Who knows? I mean, even if this is as far as it goes, but they continue to keep these things updated and improve upon them and find ways to kind of like really, really, really sharpen and polish these things to like a diamond finish. It could do a lot of players a lot of good. So good job, Capcom. Yeah. I'm excited for the new patch. I'm excited for Terry. I'm excited for both of these features. I will definitely be trying them out, and I think you should too. And on that note, we'll call it there, and have a good day. Deuces.